Sri Krishna, Sri Krishna, Sri Krishna, Sri Krishna. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. The reality is Satchit Ananda, consciousness, existence, bliss. Normally, we understand by Ananda or bliss means we are happy. See how many shades of happiness we go through in our life. In the morning, I want a cup of tea. So, morning, a Maha Mantra begins. Tea, 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 tea. And if I don't get tea, I am very miserable. And when I get tea, aha. See? And then my conclusion. Today there is an echo, my dear friend. You turn that speaker little that side. These two sounds are crossing there. Turn the angle better. That's it. Little bit that also. Little bit that side. Twist it. That's it. Now it's better. Less echo. So, when I get a cup of tea, I am happy. Then I analyze my experience. When I did not have a cup of tea, I was miserable. When I have a cup of tea, I am happy. Therefore, happiness has come from tea. Conclusion. And then we become addicted to tea. We try to justify. Then I must have a cup of tea. I must have a cup of tea. But if we go further and analyze that if happiness is the alkaloid in the tea as tannin and caffeine is, then everybody should get happiness by taking a cup of tea. But this doesn't happen. There are some people, they do not like tea at all. They like coffee. There are other people, they don't like tea or coffee. They like milk. There are third type of people, they like chocolate. See? So, conclusion is, happiness is not the content of tea. This is the conclusion. Now second thing. But can we deny our own experience that we do enjoy a cup of tea? We can't deny that. Now the question comes, where from that happiness, ananda, bliss has come? So we further analyze. When I did not have a cup of tea, mind was disturbed with thought of tea. Tea, 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 tea. The moment I get a cup of tea, the disturbance in the mind is quietened. So, where from the happiness has come and what was the cause of misery? Not the tea. A disturbed mind is misery. Mind free from disturbances is happiness. See? Can somebody say, I am extremely disturbed but I am very happy? Not possible. See, friends. Therefore, what happened in this example of tea? Tea is an object which exists. And my rasana, my tongue, is the subject which experiences the tea. So when object sat rasana, tongue, chit. When the difference between the sat and the chit is obliterated, that experience is called as happiness. Now see, is it not our experience in deep sleep? In deep sleep, there is no sense of otherness. There is no sense of limitations. Therefore, there is no desire. Because there is no desire, there is no disturbance in the mind. Net result, happiness. That is why we all want to sleep. This is the reason. So, we have seen up to yesterday's talk how we discover the divine presence in the objective perception. See? It is something like this. I will not use the technical terms. Technical terms are frightening. You know, there are two types of teachers of Vedanta. One type teachers are those who see that the student is further confused and confounded so that he never comes to learn again. See? And the second type of teachers are those, they make the Vedanta so simple that we want to learn. See, friends? So, there are two wires, cathode and anode. And when they are brought together by interception of a valid live bulb, the light happens, is it not? If there is only one wire, only cathode or only anode, no connecting the opposite pole, light won't happen. And in both these wires, cathodes and anodes, there is electrical energy present. Be attentive. Exactly the same way, consciousness is present in all the objective things, in all the inert things. Similarly, the one who is experiencing this world, he is also a conscious being. Make this point clear. We have heard the story of Prahlad, and what we have learned from that, glorifying Prahlad was the great devotee of the Lord. Over. That is not enough. See, Prahlad ji had no doubt that the objective world is nothing but pure consciousness. He had no doubt about it. We have doubt. If I tell you, there is consciousness in the dead body and the living body, will you agree? Consciousness is present in the dead body and the living body equally. Very difficult to understand. Okay, take a common example. Electricity is present behind the bulb which is giving the light and the bulb which is not giving the light. How it is possible, Swamiji? We can understand that there is electrical energy behind the bulb which is emitting light because the effect is seen. But in the other bulb, there is no light. Therefore, there is no electricity. Our conclusion. Now do the experiment. Remove that bulb behind from which the light is not coming, remove the bulb and put your 2 fingers. And come to realize. Aparokshanubhuti. Now what was the difference? The live bulb was that wherein there was ability to allow the electrical energy to express as light. In the fuse bulb, this ability to allow the electrical energy as light, this ability has gone. Now come back to the original topic. Consciousness is the only reality. Consciousness expressing through the inert world doesn't have the ability to allow life manifesting through this inert world. The same reality expressing through the plant kingdom has evolved ability. In addition to existence, there is life. In case of the animal kingdom, the same reality expresses as three factors: the existence, life and knowledge. So, why there are differences? If the reality is one, where from the differences have come? The differences have come because of the conditioning through which that electrical energy is expressing. Should we say the electrical energy behind the tube light is a light electrical energy? Behind the fan it is a revolving electrical energy. Behind the amplifier it is a noise making electrical energy. No, it is the same. The differences are on account of the gadgets through which that energy is expressing. In the same manner, the objective world is nothing but the absolute reality. As much I is the reality. So when cathode and anode, objective perception where consciousness or life is not manifested, and subjective perceiver where life is manifested, in both the cases, this consciousness comes together when these two are united through the sense organs and experience happens. Light happens in the bulb. See? So, the sweet meat in the plate and the tasting organ in the mouth, the tongue, you simply look at it. Oh God, complete this 15th chapter. Om Urdhavanam Shakamashatam Pravaram Chandansya Pranam Yasta Vedasavid Adoshotam Prasudatasa Shaka Guna Pravuddha. We are waiting for that 15th chapter to be over. Because the existence and knowledge, they are yet separate. When Sat existence, Chit knowledge, when they unite, when their difference disappears, that experience is called as Ananda. See, friends, now take our day-to-day example. When we look at any child, what is our perception? And when we look at our own child, what is the perception? When we look at any child, he is other than me. But when I look at my own child, my child is my own extension. See the difference? The wise people have this experience. The world is not other than me. And when the world is not recognized other than me, what happens? Number one, there is unconditional love. Don't we love ourselves? Think. The reason is, there is no difference between me and my body. Therefore, love is perfect. In the same manner, when the difference between the world and me dissolves in wisdom, in that experience, love is a natural expression. We struggle to love others. Wise people never love anybody. They have love for everybody. Name dveshosti na priya. Bhagavan says in Bhagavad Gita. To none I love, to none I hate. Love and hatred are possible if there is a separateness. See, friends. Therefore, after having learned in the earlier part that the world is two components, Rupa, form, and Nama, the name. Now be attentive. Rupa, the form, is objective. Nama, the name, is subjective. See? This is a pillar. Now there are two things. Pillar is, the word is abhidhana. And object pillar is abhidheya. Abhidheya is a form, object. And pillar is a name, nama. Be attentive. We have no control over the objective world. But we have control over the subjective speech. See? So, as we have concluded that this world is nothing but pure consciousness, this is not enough. Now, we have to also discover that we are also absolute conscious blissful existence. Till such time, we hold on to the body identification. Till then, this world cannot be discovered as divine expression. See, what we perceive in this world is what we have taken ourselves to be. When I take myself to be a man, the world is divided into two, man and woman. When I take myself to be old, the world is divided into two, old and not old. When I take myself to be dumb, the world is divided into dumb and intelligent. When I take myself to be rich, the world is divided into rich and poor. See, friends, we look at the world as we have accepted ourselves. See, friends, then if I am accepting myself as the body, the form, I will think of God only as a form. And when the form disappears, we become frustrated, depressed, dejected. Why? God has gone. God cannot go anywhere. Apani pado. He doesn't have legs. Where will he run? See, friends, why we are not able to experience His presence is only because of this. Therefore, in the next topic in this chapter, the teacher tells us, as in the external world we have seen the reality, in the same manner, let us discover the reality in the inner world. Now be attentive. Outside are forms, inside is name. And this name is used for chanting the Lord's name. So, how do we chant? We take the mala in the hand and then we are in a hurry to finish japa. See? For example, I remember many years before when I was first given the Gayatri mantra, how I was chanting. I was told, chant 11 times in loudly. Om Bhurvusvaha Tassaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Na Prachodayat. Om Bhurvusvaha. If we listen to the Guru, then we are not disciples. A disciple is the one who never listens to Guru. I am that type. So when I was told, what does he thinks? Can't I chant in the mind? And why 11 times? I can chant 108 times. See? So I started chanting. Om Bhurvusata because that mala gets entangled. And then there also problem. Rudraksha mala, Spatika mala, or Tulasi mala, or Vajanti mala. Mind is constantly entangled in all non-essentials. And then what is the way? Then we start hurriedly. Om Bhurvusata Seturvarnam Margodeti Om Bhurvusata. And ultimately, Om Bhur 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 Bhur. That is not the way. See, friends. Now we are taking the name as a support to discover the form. Be very attentive. In this exercise, we will have to dissolve the sounds and go beyond the sounds. This is the meaning of Prashanti Nilayam. Nilayam is not an ashram. Nilayam is an abode. See? Now be attentive. Normally we chant Sri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram, 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 Sri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram. This is one way. And after some time it becomes default. See? Mechanically. This experiment I did in Bangalore. In somebody's house I went for taking food. That is one of my professional requirement. And the worst part is I have to praise the food that it is good. Now how many times can you tell lies? So, when I finished my food, they took me to their puja room. Swamiji, this is our puja room. So I went there. And then I said, are you chanting this mantra? Oh Swamiji, how do you know? I said, don't worry about it. He said, yes. I said, show me how you chant. So that Amma took the mala in the hand, started chanting. Sri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram, Sri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram, Sri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram, Sri Ram, like this. I said, no, complete the full mala. I am not in a hurry. But she was in a hurry. Sri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram, Sri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram, Sri Ram Jai Ram Jai Ram, Sri Ram Jai Jai Ram, Sri Ram Jai Ram, Sri Ram Jai Ram. She thought I will tell stop, but I wanted to see that she chant the whole mala. And she was so frustrated, I said, now you have done this way, now try another way, my technique. Then I told this technique, listen carefully. I said, you chant like this. After I finish, then you chant. Om Sri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram. Om Sri Ram Do not worry how many times we chant. First, give attention to the sound. For example, Hari Om or Sai Ram, Sai Ram, Sai Ram. Then increase the gap between the two Sai Rams. Sai Ram, Sai Ram. Now when this we do it slowly, steadily, what are the observations to be done? First observation. When the sound is heard, by what we hear the sound? We hear the sound by our ears. But when between two Sairams, when there is no sound, by what we hear the silence? Silence cannot be heard by the ears. But we do experience. So, be attentive. We are present when Sai Ram is chanted. We are present when Sai Ram is not chanted. Therefore, who are we? Whether there is a name or absence of the name. We don't disappear. Be attentive. Sounds are many. Sai Ram, 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 Sai Ram. Many. But the silence intercepting the sounds is one. So when we start, initially take the name, after sufficient proper time, then increase the gap between the two Sairams and experience that the silence, the Shanti is one. Sound is Ashanti. Sairam, 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 Ashanti. Then after one Sairam, no sound. Sairam, Shanti. Now third. The third is Prashanti. Whether there is sound or there is silence, it doesn't make any difference to me who is illuminating both the sounds or their absence. See, friends, in a dark room, when we switch on the light, what is the first thing that we see? We see the objects illumined by that light. Our attention doesn't go on the bulb. It goes on the objects illumined by the light. Exactly the same way, when our mind peeps out through the sense organs, it naturally gets attracted towards the respective sense objects. See, Kathopanishad says, Yachedvang manasi prajnaha tajyached jnana atmani mahati niyached tajyached shante atmani. See. So first, we withdraw from the words, then we come to the silence, and then we go beyond sound and silence. How do we go beyond sound and silence? When sounds do not disturb us, and when silence does not make us happy. That experience is Prashanti Nilayam. That is our abode. We know only Shanti, Ashanti. If there is Shanti, there is no Ashanti. If there is Ashanti, there is no Shanti. They are mutually exclusive. They cannot exist together. But the factor which is supporting both Shanti and Ashanti is not opposed to anyone. This unopposed experiencer is the ultimate truth. See, friends, and this is our natural state. We don't have to do anything. See, like my eyes are open, I see dark color, I see blue color, I see yellow color, I see red color. Now all these colors are illumined by my eyes. Are they opposed to any color? Our ears are not opposed to any sound. When somebody is chanting Lord's name, that we listen. When somebody is singing a cinema song, that we listen. When somebody is abusing, that we listen. When somebody is making noise, that we listen. Ears are not opposed to any sound. Go further. Mind is not opposed to any thought. Let it be a divine or a devilish thought. Both are supported by the mind. Let there be a good thought or a bad thought. Both are supported by the mind. Go further. In the same manner, the Prashanti Nilayam, the conscious reality that we are, is not opposed to waking, dream, deep sleep or samadhi. Whether waking comes and goes, who cares? Dream comes and goes, who cares? Deep sleep comes and goes, who cares? Samadhi begins and ends, who cares? This conscious reality is untouched by and not against anything or any being. See, friend, this is the Kutastha Chaitanya. And this Kutastha Chaitanya is not one per head. See, friends, it is the same reality. There is not one separate electricity behind every bulb. It is not. Indian electricity is a democratic electricity. Chinese electricity is your communist electricity. No. Energy doesn't have creed, caste, religion. See, friends, the deeper you go in your own being, then we come to know that there is but one reality expressing in and through the totality. That is what Ishavasya Upanishad says, Ishavasya sarvam yat kincha jagatyam jagat tena tyaktena bhunjitha magrudak kasya siddhanam. This is the vision given. Idam sarvam yat kincha jagatyam. Whatever the most insignificant in this world is, Ishavasyam. It is permeated in and through by the same reality. Be attentive. The moment we accept this even theoretically, what will be the effect? Tena tyaktena bhunjitha. We can never have bhoga vritti towards the world. See, when we look upon, let us take, suppose we go to some temple and the temple is made out of marble and there is a step made out of marble and let us take God, Nandi or Lord Shiva, that is also made out of marble. So when we are coming, will we step on the Nandi and then on Shivalinga? Will not. Although all of them are only marble, stones. Exactly the same way. Because we have seen divinity in Nandi and Lord Shiva, therefore we will not have bhoga, enjoy it, utilize it for our work. No. Then we will serve that. Tena tyaktena bhunjitha. If we want to serve this world, what is necessary is to perceive the inherent divinity in and through everything and being. And this can happen only by this technique what I told you. Spend more and more time with your own being. How much time, many people have this question, how much time it takes for realization? When we know the truth is beyond time, how much time will it take? See? But we want answer. So the answer is, how much time it takes for a husband to become a man? How much time it takes for a wife to become a woman? And how much effort it takes for the husband to become a man? No effort, no time. See, friends, we have just forgotten our own divine nature. And therefore, we are constantly running outside in this world. For what? For seeking happiness. Instead of that, discover happiness. When something is discovered, means it is existing. And when we discover, it is not created, it is revealed. See, friends, the bliss that we are is not created as a result of spiritual practice. Spiritual practice is for negation of the wrong notions. And thus, when we now look upon these two thoughts put together, when I am in Prashanti Nilayam, meaning when the presence or absence of things and beings do not disturb me, then there is no sense of otherness. When there is no sense of otherness, this experience is called as Tattvamasi. That is why the mantra that we chant, Vedanta Vijnana Sunishchitartha Sannyasa Yoga Yataya Shuddha Sattva Te Brahma Lokeshu Paranta Kale Paramrutat Parimuchanti Sarve. And for that technique is what? Na karmana, na prajaya, na dhanena, tyage nayake amrutattva manasho. Now what can we reject in this world? We can reject in this world if something belongs to us. See, friend, what is that which belongs to us in this world? Start from our own body. Our body is not created by us. We may say, I am a self-made man. Like an amoeba, I am binary fission born. Self-made man. See, friends, so the whole waking world depends on this gross body identification. If the body is not ours, how anything in this world can be ours? With this wisdom, when we start living, there cannot be arrogance of success in this material world, nor there can be a guilt of failure in this material world. See, friends, and when this world is no more a sense of disturbance to us, then I and the world, these two factors dissolve into homogeneous one. See, it's very simple, it's not difficult. Now let us analyze. Under what condition the desire comes? Desire comes under the following conditions. Number one, there has to be a sense of otherness. See? Like for example, Giridhar, he has got a very good jacket. I don't have. So, I will have a desire for his jacket. Now, I have got my beautiful camera. I cannot have desire for my own camera because I already have it. Now, when this experience takes place, that the whole world is nothing but my own extension, can I ever have desire about anything in this world? Desire happens only when the sense of otherness is taken as real. Friends, it is not real, it is only imaginary. When we snore in deep sleep, that time, where are we? Number one. When are we? Number two. What are we? Number three. See? Because in deep sleep, the sense of otherness has dissolved. So, desires happen only when there is a sense of otherness, number one. Number two, desires happen when there is a sense of incompleteness. We have this notion that I am incomplete. Otherwise, why anybody should think about marriage? See, we are all by birth bachelors, is it not? So, a young, healthy, educated, intelligent, successful boy, he is growing, living happily in total freedom in this world. Then one day the virus enters his head. What a life without the wife. And then that sense of incompleteness compels him to get married. See, friends, so two things. Number one, sense of otherness. Number two, sense of incompleteness. Number three, when I look at an object, be very attentive, it's a very subtle point. When we look at anything or anybody and go ahead, don't interact, there will be no impression formed on the mind. But how the impressions are formed on the mind? When perception is followed by projection. Oh, this is a good book. What is this book? It is so nice. I don't have. I think I should have one, If I get this book, I will read after retirement. See, all these people who collect the books for reading, they are ultimately sold by their children to a garbage wala. Take it free. See, friends. So, sense of otherness, sense of incompleteness, projecting that object is the source of happiness, projecting that in the absence of that object I am incomplete, projecting that if I don't get that object, what is life for? All this khichadi is called as desire. See? And when the desire overpowers us, then yena kena prakarena, this way or that way, I must have that, I must have that. And this is how the samsara begins. So, what will be the spiritual practice now? Number one, rise above the body identification. So, whether we are practicing yoga, or we are practicing pranayam, or we are practicing chanting the Lord's name, or we are practicing the study of scriptures, the first station that has to be crossed for merging in the absolute is freedom from body identification. See, be very attentive. These are very subtle thoughts, friends. Once I was in Varanasi and we were having lectures there on the banks of Ganges. One of our friends has got a beautiful old Haveli type of house. So I was staying there, morning, see beautiful Ganges, nice, cool weather. And we used to have morning lectures. The topic was Prashnottari Mani Ratnamala of Bhagwan Shankaracharya. That was the book. So there are more than 100 questions which are asked and answered by the teacher. And while explaining that, probably I have emphasized very strongly, don't talk about your past. So, one elderly gentleman who is the editor of one of the topmost spiritual magazines of our country, he used to be there. He's pretty old. He is about 80 not out. So he asked me, Swamiji, I don't know why are you emphasizing so much about not talking about the past, about the childhood. I said, no, talk, I have no problem. But you also don't talk about yourself and don't allow others to talk. I said, no, I am giving a lecture. Lectures are not meant for listening and practicing. They are meant for forgetting. Forget. If you all listen to my lecture and if you all become wise, where will I go? See, like the doctors have the prayers. Do you know the prayers of the doctors? Sarve bhavantu roginaha. If everybody becomes healthy, where the doctors will go? They will become unhealthy. In the same manner, we Babajis have got this type of prayer. Sarve bhavantu ajnanina. When they are ignorant, then they come to us. Our market is your ignorance. So continue. No, Swami, please tell why you are emphasizing. I said, okay. I said, now, listen very carefully. Birth, childhood, teenage, middle age belong to whom? It belongs to body, not to us. Bhagavad Gita, dehinosmin yatha dehe kaumaram yauvanam jara. So to whom it belongs? The various stages are belonging to the body. And when you all the time talk about your past, when I was a child, I did like that, I did like that, when I was a teenager, I did like that, what is happening unknowingly? Our body identification is becoming stronger and stronger with every statement. See, friends, sometimes people ask, Swamiji, please tell me some sadhana. So I tell them very simple thing. Before you talk to anybody on any topic, ask a question to yourself. Is it necessary to talk? I guarantee you, you don't have to practice maunam. You will naturally keep your mouth shut. But what happens? I should not say, but my neighbors, they have got a better daughter-in-law, not like my daughter-in-law. I know I should not speak. When you know you should not speak, why don't you keep the mouth shut? Afterwards we regret. See, friends, this is one of the most potent spiritual practice. Before we talk to anybody on any topic, just ask this one question, is it necessary to talk? Be attentive. How do we talk? Suppose, when few people gather together, let's take a marriage party. So all the people come there. And then there are small groups, 5, 6 people come together, and what they do? They gossip. And how is the gossip? One person tells, see, when I was coming, I saw on the road, there was an accident, One motorcycle dashed one old man and that fellow fell down. I don't know what happened, because I had to come home, Now the story is over. Do you think others will keep quiet? This is nothing. When I was coming, a truck actually, he had collided with a jeep. And then all the people in the jeep died, But I was in a hurry, I came over here. The third one, does he keep quiet? This is nothing. One aeroplane came and hit the train, but I saved. Now there also we compete with the accident. Your accident was smaller, my accident was bigger. Hare Ram, Ram, Ram. Just give it a try. How the discussions continue. Anything anybody tells, be attentive. We are not interested because we were not there. This is how old people do not understand. They talk about their childhood. In their childhood, in their past, youngsters cannot be interested because they were not there. But old people like me, I have no future, only past. So if I have got peanuts in my pocket, how can I distribute the cashew nuts? Think, friends. Be attentive. Whenever we talk to others, We talk about the past. This is how the mind survives. Second, spiritual practice. Stop talking to yourself. Constantly. And then we say, oh, I am little sentimental. Like centimeter ultimately becomes a meter. In the same manner, sentimental ultimately becomes mental. A sentimental person talks to himself or herself. Others don't listen, others don't hear. He is talking to himself. Like some trucks heavily loaded, the slope is upward slope and there is a red light, you can't cross. Now they don't want to switch off the truck, it may not start again. So what they do? They press the brake and in the neutral gear and the accelerator is pressed. Exactly. Our meditation is like that. We sit in one place, we keep on talking. And then, I don't know, whenever I sit for meditation, there are too many thoughts in my mind. What should I do? This is your practice. Nothing else. Give it a try, friends. Stop talking to yourself. Be attentive. We talk to others about the past. We talk to ourselves about the future. Think. He who does not respect the past has no problem of future. Because past and future, they are twins. One cannot exist without the other. Past is a tense, future is a tense. Therefore, present also becomes a tense. When we live in tenses, our life is full of tensions. Drop the past and the future tense, then present is no more a tense. Thereafter, present is a presence. Living in that presence 24/7 is Prashanti Nilayam. See, friends, at this moment, we are neither man nor woman, neither young nor old. We just exist. This experience of ours gets corrupted or covered by the waves of thoughts. Like the ocean is covered by the waves and the water is covered by the ocean. Get this point across. Once I was going from recently Miami to Bahamas by the cruise. So I was standing near the deck looking outside. So one person came and asked me a question. Swamiji, do you know how much deep will be the water here in the ocean? People ask us any question as if I am Googleananda. Any question they can ask. So I said, I don't answer wrong questions. He said, why wrong question? I said, look here. Whether water is in the ocean or ocean is in the water, first find out. See? What we say, we make ocean as a substance and water as the content. But what is the truth? Water is the reality, not the ocean. How simple it is. In the same manner, the world is in me. the body is in me. I am not in the body. Like every word is in the silence. And where is the silence? Silence is not in the hearing ability. Silence is that because of which hearing is possible. Yashrotrena na shrunoti, yena shotragam shrunoti, tadeva brahmatvam viddhi, nedam yadidam upasate, yash chakshusha na pashyati, yena chakshugam pashyati, tadeva brahmatvam viddhi, nedam yadidam upasate. That because of which the eyes are able to see, but that which cannot be seen by the eyes, that is the Brahman, that is the reality, and that reality thou art. You are that reality. Don't search here and there. See, friends. And our extrovert search can stop only under one condition. We have to drop the body identification. Now the question comes, how do we know whether we have dropped the body identification or not? See? Now let us analyze our experience to find it out. Nobody can tell us whether we have dropped our body identification or not, because it is a subjective experience. It is not objective. Like I was talking to somebody, can I go and ask any one of you while taking food, hey, excuse me, please tell me, is my hunger satiated? Nobody can tell me. I have to find out whether my hunger is satiated or not. In the same manner, whether I am established in the truth or not, nobody can tell me. Then I have to find out myself. Where do we go now? We have come to the catch-22. Where do we go? Now here is a simple technique, very simple. Do we have the experience of no identification with the body? Yes, we do have. When we are experiencing dream, when we are experiencing deep sleep, that time we are not identified with the body. In this we don't have to do anything. See? So we have the experience to exist without body identification. Correct. Now, in that experience, when we are no more identified with the body, that time, what is our experience? Further analysis. So we will come to know two things. Number one, I have no desire. Because there is no sense of otherness and there is no limitation of body identification. Therefore, in deep sleep, no desire. Number one, observation. Number two, we are extremely happy and peaceful. See? So, body disidentification is equal to freedom from desires and being happy. So what should be the spiritual practice now? Think. Our whole life goes only in accumulating, collecting. Kathopanishad towards the end tells what is the meaning of realization. Yada sarve pramuchante kama yasya hridishritaha atha martyaha amruto bhavati atra brahma samashnute. When one is free from even a single lingering desire, atra brahma samashnute, he is established in the absolute infinite reality now and here. Atra brahma samashnute. Yada sarve pramuchante kama yasya vridhishrita, living at a zero desire level. Now see how the desires play havoc in our life. We all must have experienced some time or the other. Suppose you have to catch a morning flight, international flight, let us say to USA or London. Therefore, you have to go to the airport 3 hours early. So you have to reach there 4 o'clock. Okay. Now the drive from your house to the airport is 45 minutes or half an hour. That means I must leave the home at 3:30. Okay. That means I must get up little early, maybe 2:30 or so, take bath, become fresh and dress nicely and then go to the airport. Yes, that is good. So I must wake up at 2:30. Therefore, I must go to sleep early, take dinner quickly. Okay. So we finish our dinner at 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock and go to sleep so that we can catch the flight. Only one desire, you have to catch the flight. From 8 o'clock to 2:30, you wake up 365 times. Don't we do that? One single desire destroyed the whole night. We have got the Himalaya of desires, destroyed many lives. See, friends, that is what the teacher says. Tyage nahi ki amritatva manashu. See? These things you will not get in books, you just observe yourself within. See, how do we go to sleep? Don't go here. How do we go to sleep? First of all, we reject the whole world. Then we reject all our position, our name or fame or achievement or failure. We come in our room, close all the windows and doors. Then we switch on whatever comforts we want. Then we go below the quilt. And after going there, the last mantra, I want to sleep, I want to sleep, I want to sleep. Till such time, I and want is, sleep doesn't begin. When the I and the want is dropped, the sleep begins even in the satsanga. See, one of, think it happened somewhere. One person was, sitting right in front and comfortably sleeping. And he had another person next to him. So he made him a Dunlop pillow and slept there. And when my lecture was over, he was the first to come and tell me, Swamiji, you are awesome. I wanted to ask him, awesome or awful? Then he went away. The person on whose shoulder he was sleeping, he became very angry and came. Swamiji, he was sleeping, why didn't you wake him up? I said, be cool first of all. Don't get angry. Now tell me, what for you have come to satsang? For becoming miserable or for discovering happiness? Of course, I came for happiness, but this man, be cool, be cool. That man, he got happiness. And you are still struggling. Therefore, all those who sleep in that satsang, they are realized ones. Bhagavad Gita tells, not me, ya nisha sarva bhutanam tasyam jagrati sanyami yasyam jagrati bhutani. When other people are listening to satsang, sa nisha pashyato mune, they go to sleep. Friends, it is so simple. The first step on the spiritual journey is freedom from body identification. And means we have, be very attentive. How do we practice freedom from body identification? No desires. What is the meaning of no desires? Very simple technique. One day, I went to somebody's house for food and they had a child, like this boy, very sweet child. We are all taking food and all that, and that boy was, very much, no. So what happened to you? Come on, you take ice cream. No, I don't want this brand. I want that brand. Ice cream is ice cream, whether ice cream or you scream, we have to scream only. Take. No, I want that particular, I don't like this brand. And he was miserable. Then I told him, I said, hey, whatever you take or not, should we play something? He said, what can we play? I said, we'll play one game. Then I asked him, which is the chocolate you like the most? He said, this chocolate. I said, okay. Now we are playing a game. Agree? He said, yes. Now this chocolate you have, but you don't eat it. Although you have freedom to eat, you have health to eat, yet don't eat it for 15 days. After 15 days, eat only one chocolate, not more than that. And then make some calibration. How much happy you were. Then second chocolate you take after another 15 days. Then you note again how much happiness you got. And then you take the same type of chocolate after 1 month. Then after 2 months. And play this game till the year end and show me the data. Will you do it? Of course I can do it. And that boy did it. And he told me, Swamiji, you are a genius. Now I have understood why you told me this. He said, when we give ourselves minimum choice, maximum happiness. Zero choice, absolute happiness. Freedom from desire means don't seek any choice. Whatever is necessary for our evolution, that alone the Lord grants us. We think He doesn't know our needs. It is not true. All that is required for our evolution is granted by Him. See? We are like me. Once I was in a hospital. Some kind of stomach problem. When I saw our hospital here that day, I told the doctors, I said, Dr. Saab, your hospital is so good. I wish I fall ill and come here sometime. Such a good hospital, anybody will like to go. So, I was having some problem, I don't know what it is. So, I was on one bed, and next bed some other patient was there. And they were giving me barley water and boiled rice, that upper little bit of, that carbohydrates, liquid type of thing. No salt, no nothing, no mirch, no masala. And I like very much spices, masala, mirchi, achar, then gongura. I very much like that, But all that was stopped. And the next patient, he was given wonderful food. And every day I used to think, because I am a poor Swami, they are giving me bad food, He must be a rich man, therefore good food. And he was fed up of eating good food, I was fed up of eating bad food. So one day he said, I am not going to eat, I am fed up. I said, look here, Annam Brahmeti Vyajanar. Don't discard the food. Anna is Brahma. I don't want to eat. I said, never mind, I will eat because it is Brahman. And I ate that food. And when I ate, all my readings became upside down, became emergency. Doctors came, nurses came, and they put a big tube from my mouth inside and washed and brought out everything. And then the doctor started scolding the nurse and everybody. Who gave this? When I saw that they were all in trouble, I said, Dr. Saab, I ate myself, nobody gave me. He said, because you are giving me bad food, therefore I ate it. He said, I thought you are a Swamiji, you will understand. I said, if I understand, why will I become Swamiji? And then he said, Sir, you are having your stomach problem, you are suffering from melena. I said, hey, lovely disease, like lavina, melena, beautiful disease. He said, don't cut jokes here, you are serious. I was thinking that they are biased against me. But whatever treatment was given to me was for my betterment, is it not? In the same manner, all that happens, time-wise, event-wise, relation-wise, achievement-wise, health-wise, in our life, it is needed for our evolution. Don't ask for any choice. See? This is a very simple example. More the choice, more miseries. Lesser the choice, less miseries. Now take for example, here most of us are putting white clothes. No botheration, kya pehenna hai. Same thing, you go to the cities, every time they are worrying, no, what should I put on? This I put yesterday, that I put yesterday. There are 365 saris. And every day you stand there. No. By the time the train has gone, oh God. See, therefore, freedom from body identification means entertaining minimum desires, means giving ourselves zero choice. See, friends, to that extent, our body identification will be reduced. See? And then be attentive. When the body identification is reduced, possessions and relations in this world will not bother us. All of us carry the burden of past possessions and relations in our life. We all talk about ego, but what is ego? Ego is a mule carrying the burden of total past possessions and relations. See, friends. And these possessions and relations are in other words called as the byproduct of desires. See. In this manner, when we are able to leave body identification, then we come to the next stage in our spiritual practice. See, there are only 3 stages. First is freedom from body identification. Second is freedom from the notion of a soul. See? And the third is going beyond the relativity, although living through the relativity. These are the 3 stages. And these 3 stages are the ultimate path indicated in our scriptures. Therefore, asana is practiced not for twisting the body. Asana is practiced for freedom from body identification. Pranayama is practiced not for pumping the air, but for freedom from body identification. Bhakti, devotion is practiced only for one reason, freedom from body identification. And knowledge is practiced to discover that we are merely the embodied and not the body. So whatever path we are following, the net result has to be body disidentification. And when this will start happening, we will have a totally different vision in life. And with that vision, when we start living, life becomes most beautiful. Then we come to know how the great masters lived in this world. It is not that during their time the political situation was different. During their time, the economic problems were different. During their time, the time scale was different. No. We are living on that same time scale, the same economic problems, the same political turmoils, and yet see how they lived. The only reason is they lived through the body. They never lived as the body. Spiritual practice is living through the body and no more living as the body. Rest of the thing tomorrow's. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.